Hi everyone and welcome back to Sprinkle with Paper. So this year I thought it would be fun to make a monthly scrapbook layout where I can just highlight some of the fun things that my family had done throughout the month or just things that I want to make sure that I always remember. So today I'm going to show you how I make those designs over in Cricut Design Space. And then once we have everything cut out, and we'll assemble the page together, and I'll kind of show you the certain things that I pick up throughout the month, just kind of like some fun little embellishments I like to use to put my scrapbook pages together. So let's go ahead and head on over to Cricut Design Space and we'll get started on our January layout. So the pages in my scrapbook are 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to start by making an 8.5 by 11 kind of mock sheet. So to do that, we're just going to go over to shapes and we're going to select one of the squares. And then I'm just going to go up and unlock the shape and I'm going to change the size to 8.5 by 11. So doing this is really helpful. So I do plan on cutting out this sheet in some different patterned cardstock, but also it just kind of helps us size some of the wording we want to put on, helps us figure out how many pictures are going to fit onto the sheet, and then we can also make sure we're cutting the right amount of embellishments. So the first thing I'd like to add to my layout is the word January. So to do that, I'm just going to click on Images, and I'm going to type in January. There are a lot of really cute ones to choose from here, but I think I'm going to go with the Hello January. I feel like that would be really cute, and with it being the start of the new year, just kind of Hello January, Hello New Year, I feel like this one would be perfect. And next I'm going to search for a snow globe. So my idea for the snow globe is to use it as a little background for a picture. So I'm going to take one of the pictures I've printed out and I'm going to cut it out into a circle and put it right there inside the snow globe. I think that will be really cute. And with sticking with the snow globe and kind of snowy theme, I'm going to now just look for some snowflakes. So there are a ton of different snowflake designs, and in the past I've tried cutting out so many different ones, but sometimes they're just so intricate, it just is such a pain, it's just not even worth it to me. So I'm just going to kind of look for the thickest snowflake I can find that is still kind of cute and whimsical, and I'm just going to go with that one. So I do plan on adding some more embellishments, but let's just start here and then we can figure out how much space we have left. So the first thing I want to do with this Hello January is I want to add an offset to this design. So I'm just going to go up to offset, and I think I'm going to make it thicker. I do like the way this looks, but I want it to cut. I want to put both of the words Hello and January onto one single background layer. So I think I'm just going to make the offset a little bit larger. And I'm just going to keep making it larger until we can get rid of all those little cutouts. And then I'm just going to highlight both layers and I'm going to adjust the size to 4 inches. And then I'm just going to move it over here onto that mock 8.5 by 11 sheet. And I feel like it's just a little too big. So I'm going to resize it and make it 3.5 inches for the width instead of the 4. And yes, I think that looks a lot better. So now for the bottom portion of this sheet, I did pick up some paper from Hobby Lobby that looks like mountains. So my idea is to cut those mountains out and have them be on the bottom portion, and then I'm just going to kind of layer things on top. So the first thing I want to layer on top of those mountains that we just have to pretend are there is the snow globe. So I'm going to move the snow globe down to the bottom right hand corner. I'm going to adjust the size to 3.5 so I can easily place a picture inside of it. I'll just resize the snowflakes. I'm just going to make them a little bit smaller, and I'm going to place them kind of where they're overlapping the picture that will be inside the snow globe and then the mountains a little bit. So I love how this is turning out, but I do need to add a spot for the pictures. And I love when you overlap pictures with cardstock, especially if it's either different colors or it's patterned. I feel like it looks really nice, kind of elevates the scrapbook page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over to shapes and I'm going to grab a square. And I'm going to resize it to 3.5 by 4.5 inches. So, up until this point, if you've been following along and trying to make your scrapbook look exactly like how I'm making it here, this part is going to be kind of more personal. So, one of the pictures that I'm going to be using is from my daughter's birthday, and she just turned 15 and she just got her driver's permit. So I'm going to go over to images and I think I'm going to search for a little license plate. I think it'd be cute to have a license plate and put her name in the middle of it. Just going to find something that's kind of basic. And then now I'm just going to go over to text and I'm going to type out my daughter's name, Madison. And I'll just place it right here in the little license plate frame. And this is perfect, exactly what I was looking for. Now before I add anything else, I'm just going to start changing some of the colors. I already have my cardstock picked out that I plan on using for this page. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the snow globe and also the license plate frame to a silver. I'm going to be using a silver glitter for that. The snowflakes are perfect. Those are going to be in a light blue. The 8.5 by 11 mock sheet, that is also going to be in a light blue pattern paper. And then as for the Hello January, I'm going to change that to a light blue. And then I'm going to change the background layer to a silver. And now the last thing I plan on adding is a little embellishment to go with this other picture here on the left-hand side. So this one is going to be a picture of my husband and my son. They are working on a woodworking project. They're actually making a skateboard. And it was the first time my son used a saw, so I of course ran out and snapped a picture. And now we'll just change this to silver and we are ready to cut it all out. So now that we're on the cut pages, I'm noticing a few things that I need to adjust. So the first thing are these rectangles. They're not supposed to be silver. They're supposed to be that patterned blue paper I was telling you about. So what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight both of these rectangles. And then I'm going to click on the three dots in the upper left-hand corner. Select New. And then I'm just going to change the color to yellow. It really doesn't matter. I'll just know that yellow is my pattern paper. And now the next thing I'm going to do, which is completely optional, is I'm just going to move my designs away from the edges of the paper. And the reason I'm doing that is because I like to apply masking tape along the edges of my cutting mats and my paper just to make sure that it doesn't shift while it's cutting. And the last thing I want to change is this snow globe. So now that I see it over on the cutting mat, I'm realizing that that line that goes around the circle is going to be really thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this a solid piece. So I'll go back to the project page and then just click on contour and I'm going to get rid of that circle. And so once I do that, now it's just going to cut as one solid piece, and then it'll be a lot easier to attach my photo. So now let's just give it one more quick look, and then let's cut it out. So now it's time for the fun part. We get to start putting it all together like a puzzle piece. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that mock sheet that we had originally made. I'm going to attach that here onto my scrapbook page. And I'm just using this tape runner and then also my hot glue gun. Everything that I'm using today in this video is actually from Hobby Lobby. My scrapbook, all of the paper, even the ribbon that I'm using. It's all from Hobby Lobby. The only things that I'm not using from Hobby Lobby are the little napkins from my daughter's birthday, and then obviously the pictures. Next, I'm going to be cutting out the trees, and I feel like this is just a fun way to add some dimension to your scrapbook. Now let's just add the snow globe down to this bottom corner. And then for the picture, I don't think I could cut out a perfect circle, so I'm just going to grab the lid to my candy machine and just trace it and then cut that out. Luckily, it's the perfect size. And I could be a perfectionist about this and use my Cricut machine for this task, but scrapbooking is supposed to be fun and creative and relaxing, so I think that just tracing the lid of my candy machine is going to work just great. And yes, it looks adorable. I am loving the way this is turning out. So now let's just add the snowflakes. And since these are so small, I'm just going to use a tiny dab of hot glue to attach these. And now let's start arranging the rest of the pieces so we can get our pictures placed on here. So one thing I did notice that maybe I should have placed this all on before I started gluing it down is I want to tuck these little rectangles. I want to tuck one of them kind of underneath the tree line. So I'm just going to really carefully pull those back and kind of tuck this rectangle underneath it. But before I fully attach these, I'm first going to work on the Hello January. So I'm just going to use hot glue to attach the Hello January to that background layer. And when you're using hot glue to attach cardstock, especially when the pieces are so tiny, you need just the smallest amount. Really, the tiniest dab will work because you don't want the hot glue to seep out of the sides. Otherwise, it's going to look kind of messy. So I just barely do the faintest little dot. And now I'm just going to attach my pictures. And since there's some wasted space on these pictures, I'm just going to cut them down a little bit before I attach them. So when you're preparing for your monthly scrapbook page, it's fun to gather things throughout the month where you can use them as little embellishments. For example, I'm using these cute little napkins that we used for my daughter's 15th birthday. We found them at Home Goods and we just thought they were perfect because, it's so her style, but because she's getting her permit and then the little dog's driving a Vespa, we thought it was just perfect. So I'm just going to cut this little dog out on the little Vespa. And it will be fun looking back and remembering Madison's 15th birthday dinner. So now we're just going to attach that little license plate frame that we had made over in Cricut Design Space. And I did cut this out using the silver cardstock. But as for the name, I decided to use a vinyl because I thought that it would be a lot easier to transfer that on using transfer tape as opposed to having to glue every single letter on since it was so small. So I had this ribbon on hand and I thought it would be kind of nice just to add some to the page. So I'm just kind of messing around with it a bit. I think I'm going to add this pink, it's kind of like a pink velvet ribbon. I'm going to add this underneath Madison's picture because there's some empty space here. So I'm just going to cut it out to kind of fit the size of the photo, and then I'm going to use hot glue to secure it. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of blue as well. So I have to be honest, I actually hate the way that this looks. Once I glued the ribbon on, it just got kind of like wrinkled and it just doesn't look nice. I don't love it. So I'm just going to tear this off and replace it with something different. And I think this is just an important lesson. When you're scrapbooking, I always hear people saying they're so nervous to make a mistake, so they don't even get started because they feel like they're going to mess it up somehow. But with scrapbooking, the great thing is if you make a mistake, you could just take it off and cover it up with something else and no one would ever know. And the last thing that I need to add is this little silver saw. But now that I'm looking at the page, I just don't really feel like there's a great spot for it. So I think I'm just going to leave it off. But I did end up cutting out 2 more snowflakes, so I'm just going to add those instead. this completes our January scrapbook page. I hope that you found this helpful and it gave you some inspiration for your own scrapbook pages. I will be sharing a monthly spread at the beginning of each month for the previous month. So at the beginning of March, we will be doing the February page. So go on ahead and start gathering all of those embellishments, and come March, we can make our February page together. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. And until next time, happy crafting.